Silksong looks like it'll end up being one of the best games ever. And, well, that's a bit of an understatement because the original Hollow Knight was one of the best games ever, and Silksong just looks so much better. And in this game, we'll get so much new content, from new gameplay mechanics to new lore to a new world. But what about Hallownest? This is a question I've heard many people ask, from Deep Dock Proletarian to just random people in some of my Discord servers. And this is quite a valid question. What about Hallownest? Regardless of whether Silksong is a sequel or a prequel, Hornet still has quite a strong connection with the kingdom, and since some people think that it would make much more sense being a prequel, Hornet would have to make her way back to Hallownest for the events of the original Hollow Knight game. We all fell in love with Hallownest during our first playthrough of the game. We're so obsessed with the story that it would be quite useful for Team Cherry to bring us back there. And who knows, with this we could learn much more of Hallownest's history and even learn more about some of our favorite characters like Quirrell, or sorry Mossbag, Elderbug, or the Stag characters, or so on. Yes, so in this video, we'll discuss why we will definitely see Hallownest featured in Silksong. You know, after that first segment, I really wish I had some cool game theory type opening to the videos, just because I know it would be so cool there. Anyways, I just made a very bold claim, and you may be wondering how I'll back this up. And just you wait. There are many different schools of thought about Hallownest and Silksong, and I'll explain them all here. First off, some people think that since the so-called Hornet DLC became a full-fledged game, that there's no chance that we'll end up going back to Hallownest because we have a brand new kingdom and so much great content there that it would be bad for the game to come back to our old stomping grounds. People say that Team Cherry would have to remake parts of Hallownest so that it'd be possible for Hornet to get around, and that process would take a lot of time. But Hornet does have some pretty similar movement abilities to the Knight, and I don't think Team Cherry would have to remap much at all. Plus, Team Cherry could just open a small portion of Hallownest for us to explore, such as an early game area with little remapping required since we only had a jump. But the most likely thing would be to just use Deep Nest and explore the area just a bit more. There was a lot of unused Deep Nest content in Hollow Knight, as they trimmed the area substantially before release so they didn't overwhelm the player. Overall, it seems unlikely we won't see Hallownest in any capacity in Silksong. Another idea by the fans is that we could see Hallownest via some flashbacks or memories. I do believe that this is the most likely outcome of seeing the kingdom of Hallownest in Silksong, as I'm sure Team Cherry would not miss out on this opportunity. In the features post on the Silksong info sheet, we also get some important info from Team Cherry that says, "Uncover ancient secrets tied to your nature and your past." This is a clear indication that we will learn even more about the past of Hornet and the past of Hallownest, since the two are pretty well connected. Obviously, one of the main story bits we'll get in Silksong will be about Hornet and the Weavers, so we'll be getting a lot of lore that is somewhat connected to Hallownest. And Hornet does tend to get a lot of cutscenes, as we see in the original game, so would it be all that strange if one of them involved Hallownest? I have no proof here, it's just speculation, but I think that would make a lot of sense. First, we have to talk about dream diving, a mechanic that was supposed to be in the original Hollow Knight, but got scrapped before being published due to it not really working with the rest of the game. This was originally going to be the function of the Dream Nail ability. When you struck an NPC with the Dream Nail, their head would open, allowing you to jump in and explore a level happening inside of their brain. In the end, you would talk to them and get some little snippets of lore. But like I said, this was obviously scrapped in the end. Now, why would I think we might get something like this in Silksong? Well, I believe that after doing some major events in Silksong, that Hornet will get some of these flashbacks, and that we will be able to play through them to better understand Hornet and the events happening in Farloom. This would be much better than just listening to one of the Weavers tell a story as well. And while this may not fully count as being Hallownest, we would get to re-explore some parts of the kingdom, which still would definitely kind of count. This is also not an uncommon thing for Metroidvanias to do, and we see this done in one of the biggest names of the genre, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. It goes like this. Alucard is about to enter the waterways, and he sees a platform. He explores the area, and there, next to him, is something that looks like the normal save point, except it's purple instead of red and black like all the normal save points. When you interact with this, you're transported into a mini-level called Nightmare, where Alucard sees his mother and she's dying in front of him. She tells him to take vengeance on humans, but it turns out that this is not actually his mother, but the demon Succubus trying to corrupt Alucard. You then fight your way out of the stream, and you have a deeper understanding of the story, and you get a new item to help you out. I could see a similar thing happening with Hornet, and maybe like some late game ability to help her solve some of the problems of the kingdom. Now, here's the thing about what I said. If we were to get an important ability, it probably wouldn't be in some short 4-room linear memory with a boss fight at the end, especially with Team Cherry's skills. We'd probably get at least a biome out of this memory, and maybe more. The leading candidate for this would be the room titled in the game as Abyss 07. This was an unused bench room that looked to be very far into development. This room looked very distinctly of Hornet, as we see silk and needles lying around, and the atmosphere itself is similar to what we see Hornet in many times. This room was probably a part of the planned Abyss expansion that got cut because of budget constraints. The location of this room is where Hidden Station later was added, behind the same breakable wall. This memory could tell us a lot about the Pale King and the Void which he experimented with, as well as teaching us a bit about the ancient civilization, as the bench did say Abyss. This could be Team Cherry's expansion of the promised Abyss DLC. I'd be excited to see this, as we'd learn tons about the important lore of the game as well as Hornet, and we could explore some really cool unused areas. Now, the next thing I'm going to say should be taken with the entire Pacific Ocean worth of salt, as it has almost no proof and it only makes sense inside of my brain. But I feel that since Hornet has ties to Hallownest and that this game might be a prequel, we could end the game in Hallownest. You may be going, wow, that's one heck of a bold accusation, especially without proof. All we've heard so far from Team Cherry about this game is Farloom. I mean, it seems unlikely we'd have massive chunks of the game in Hallownest. But I believe we could see some at the end of the game, a segment where Hornet backtracks to Hallownest to do something and could sort of do what Quirrell does, re-explore the entire kingdom for a second time. I don't have any specific proof here, but I feel like I've heard it somewhere in one of Team Cherry's updates and I just can't place it. A part of Hornet's quest could easily be doing something in Hallownest, especially if the game is about weavers. She could do something and start this quest over in Farloom, and after some certain event, it could be all about saving the weavers in Hallownest and re-establishing Deepnest or something similar to that. Even though it is unlikely, it does seem that this would make sense, given the known travel is possible between these two worlds. Plus, maybe we could see the vessel escape route that we know exists. Whatever the connection to Hallownest will be, I feel that Team Cherry will give us a little taste of our old kingdom, and that it will be important and part of Silksong's main plot. Could this maybe be the feature of Silksong mode, where we get an even truer ending, with a secondary story about the weavers in Hallownest? We'll see. So, what do you guys think? Could we possibly go back to Hallownest and Silksong and re-see the kingdom and maybe even get some additional content? Do you think we could play a chunk of the campaign here? Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Please subscribe so that you can stay up to date with all of my Hollow Knight content. And lastly, I now have a Teespring shop, so check that out for some pretty cool Hollow Knight merch. And I also have a Patreon page with some pretty awesome rewards for your patronage. Thank you guys for stopping by. I'm Ravenbane. Have a nice day.